Check, check. 1 2 1 2.
So I'm not sure exactly how much you want me to talk about.
You ready to do this?
All right. Run on.
We've always relied on passion projects to kind of steer the ship over the years. A lot of times we've relied on travel to kind of inspire passion projects and, you know, add some perspective and some meaning to basically being slackers and traveling. But we've always also just loved the thought of featuring interesting people, whether it's been like tape artists with Sarah DiNardo or our friend Roscoe, you know, doing Onward, etc. Finding people with interesting passions that we can feature in like a cool way always seems like a good way to like sharpen the blade sort of thing. So we started compiling a list, just anything that anybody came across interesting, whether we found them on Facebook, whether somebody suggested them to us at a party, whether it was an article we read in the newspaper or, you know, online or whatever it was. There was always like this pursuit still to like find a story that like was super visual, a kind of storytelling that goes beyond just the subject, and it has like visceral beauty to it. I stumbled upon on Twitter, there was like that random post from the actor that plays Boba Fett. I don't even know why it was on our timeline or whatever, but he posted about this mind-blowing art, you know, all these different action figures, and then it moved out to show the artist's actual self-portrait, and it was like, how does one even begin to create something like that? And, you know, this artist just so happened to be in Rhode Island. It's like, maybe we should chase that story, you know?
So I found Tom's email address on his website and kind of just sent him an email telling who we were with some links to some of our projects that we've done and hoping that he was interested. And he was.
You reached out and it was you were local. And funny enough, I was just as intrigued by you guys. It just sounded like it'd be nice to see how somebody could do a little piece on me, you know, and I was kind of up for it at that point.
Our first day, I think the biggest goal was to just capture his process. We had somewhat of an idea of what he did and what he made, but I think what we had yet to learn was really the why and his thoughts behind his work.
We knew that his art was captivating, and our goal was to be a fly on the wall and capture the entire process of him making it. But we didn't know until I had the chance to sit down and interview him how well-spoken Tom was and how captivating his words are. We really got a glimpse into his anxiety and why he uses reclaimed plastic as his medium of expression. Does your art have a message that speaks to that?
It does. My art, it's metaphorical in some respects, where they become meditations on both the material and the natural world and the way they interface.
When we got into the edit, we had, you know, really interesting B-roll and we had a great interview from Tom, but we were still looking for something to grab onto to help elevate the storytelling.
You know, his work is so good and, as I've said before, meaningful and impactful and deep, and so, you know, I think we wanted to create something that reflected that.
Generic is never the goal, and we thought that we could bring this to the next level if we went back for another shoot, and this time focusing just on his art and new ways to try to capture it.
I think at that point was when we started realizing that there was a lens out there called the macro probe. It's almost like the perfect type of project for that type of specialty lens.
So much fun. So we got the lens and we went back for a second time.
It's as if you were an insect and you could go inside of the thing. And so you could get details that even the viewer couldn't see. And because the resolution was so good, it was a dream come true, really.
You know, you would do one pull out on one piece of art and then you do another and then you just cut them back to back. You know, sort of the idea of like endless trash being the enemy.
And those shots became catalysts for new ideas that just started to snowball. And that's when it really started to transform.
I liked the idea of shifting the mood to make plastic sort of an antagonist, you know, using music that's sort of ominous and scary, kind of almost like horror movie vibes. And just started with that and started building out the introduction.
It's my largest anxiety. I think we're in real trouble.
Dan at one point brought up the idea of including some old PSAs.
The edit felt as much of a collage, like a cultural collage, as his art. All these relics of our past, basically sifting through that YouTube garbage pile of all these old toy commercials and old PSAs. That led to the famous PSA from the 70s.
People start pollution. People can stop it.
The first time I saw it, I was like, I don't think we can do that. And then the more I learned about that spot, it felt kind of refreshing to do something that made you confront your own place in this problem. It felt like it was begging a response or evoking an emotion because it was confrontational. This film was about rabbit holes inside of rabbit holes inside of rabbit holes. At some point, it like tipped the scales to being like appropriate. I'll never know if it really was appropriate because people definitely still had negative reactions to it, including Tom himself. I think had a pretty negative reaction to it.
I had a couple complaints that I told them. I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, you know what? It was great, actually. Like, yeah, we really appreciate your comments. We're going to go ahead and not do that.
His art has this certain vulgarity that punches you in the gut with certain visceral reactions. And I like the fact that a film about work that does that has a little bit of that in it.
Little shitty kid plays with it for a few minutes, and that's it. I don't know if it's good if I'm calling a bunch, shitty little kids and this and that. But I said it. It's out of my hands what you guys make. That's your art form, not mine. I think you guys picked out some really good, interesting points. You did some really nice camera work, and I think you guys did your job. We're kind of beautiful, too, in our own way. We're great problem solvers, and our capacity for invention and being clever and acts of decency and compassion and empathy. I mean, it just is profound. We're everything.
It really excites me to tell the stories of other people and to, help them communicate their message to a wider audience.
This one actually kind of spoke to me, so I was pretty excited to get to work on it.
We're always looking for the next cool story to tell, but sometimes you stumble upon some really interesting things, and I'm looking forward to the next time we stumble upon something like this.